What if I told you the most powerful tool for your success and happiness isn't something you buy, but something you already possess? This video dives deep into ancient wisdom and modern science to reveal how you can unlock profound personal potential. Get ready to tap into the true power of your mind. What if I told you that every breakthrough you seek, every fear you want to conquer, and every miracle you secretly pray for is already inside you? Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. The only thing standing between you and the life you dream of is the untrained power of your own mind. And tonight, I'm going to show you how to unlock the guru within, the silent intelligence that never fails, never sleeps, and never runs out of solutions. Stay with me till the end, and you will leave with a mind that no longer controls you, but serves you. Master your mind, unleash your inner guru. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize they are not living according to their true potential. They sense an invisible boundary between the life they have and the life they know they are capable of. This talk is for those who are tired of that invisible wall. This talk is for those who are ready to meet the power they have ignored for too long, the power of their own mind. You will hear things tonight that will challenge your old beliefs, dissolve your fears, and awaken a strength you may have forgotten you possessed. If you stay with me until the end, you will walk away with a new understanding of who you are and what you can command from life. The mind is the architect of every condition, every circumstance, every experience. Nothing appears in your world unless it is first accepted, imagined, or believed within. Many people spend their lives wrestling with external problems, unaware that every external problem is born from an internal pattern. The moment you understand this, you stop fighting the shadows and begin transforming the source. The most powerful spiritual truth is this: your mind creates your world, and when you master your mind, you master every situation you encounter. Hidden beneath your conscious thinking lies a deeper mind, the silent guru within. It does not argue, it does not reason, it does not question your instructions. It accepts every thought you impress upon it, and uses its infinite intelligence to bring that thought to life. If you tell it you are unworthy, it manifests conditions that reflect unworthiness. If you tell it you are blessed, guided, and empowered, it shapes experiences that mirror abundance and guidance. This silent power is always working, whether you acknowledge it or not. It is the builder behind every outcome, waiting only for you to give it a clear direction. This inner guru speaks in the language of feeling and imagination. Your imagination is not a toy. It is not a distraction. It is the spiritual workshop of creation. Everything you see in the physical world once existed in someone's mind as an idea. The same process governs your personal life. When you imagine a new version of yourself, confident, peaceful, prosperous, and feel that image is real, you imprint it on the subconscious. The subconscious then reorganizes your habits, your opportunities, and your environment to match the image you have chosen. What you are imagining today is the life you are preparing to step into tomorrow. But to command this power, you must develop mental discipline. Most people let their minds wander aimlessly, drifting from fear to doubt, from worry to confusion. They allow external circumstances to dictate their inner state. This is mental slavery. To master your mind, you must guard your thoughts the way a gatekeeper guards a sacred temple. You choose what enters. You choose what stays. You choose what must be rejected. When a fearful thought appears, you refuse to nourish it. When a negative suggestion enters, you answer it with a higher truth. Mental discipline is not about force. It is about awareness. It is the decision to think on purpose, not by accident. Faith is the highest form of mental mastery. Faith is not blind belief. It is the deep knowing that the intelligence within you is greater than any challenge you face. When you trust this inner power, your mind becomes calm, your vision becomes clear, and your actions become confident. You stop begging life to change and begin directing it with certainty. Faith transforms your inner state, and your inner state transforms your outer world. When you stand in the awareness of your inner guru, you become unshakable. Transformation begins with one decision: the decision to stop living as a victim of your thoughts and start living as the master of them. The moment you declare, "I choose the thoughts that shape my life," You step into a new identity. You stop waiting for permission. You stop asking for validation. You stop doubting your own power. You begin to speak to yourself with authority, to imagine boldly, to expect the best, and to accept nothing less than the life you were designed to live. The mind you master becomes the servant of your destiny. The mind you ignore becomes the creator of your limitations. You are not here to be controlled by fear, habit, or circumstance. You are here to command them. Within you lives a wisdom, older than your body, stronger than your fears, and wiser than any external teacher. That wisdom is your inner guru. It waits patiently for the day you are ready to listen, ready to trust, ready to unleash everything you were created to be. Your mind becomes what you consistently think, feel, and imagine, and this truth is far more powerful than most people realize, because the mind is not a passive observer of life. It is the active creator of your experiences, shaping your circumstances with every thought you allow to take root within it. Every idea you dwell upon, every emotion you nurture, every picture you paint in the inner chambers of your imagination becomes a seed planted in the soil of your subconscious. And that seed grows into the conditions, relationships, opportunities, and patterns that show up in your daily life. Whether you are aware of it or not, you are always cultivating something, always molding your future with the silent activity of your inner dialogue. This is why a single persistent thought can elevate an entire life, and a single dominant fear can sabotage the greatest of talents. Your mind does not judge your thoughts as good or bad. It simply takes them as instructions, transforming them into the experiences that correspond with their nature. When you understand this, you begin to see that the quality of your life has always been the echo of the quality of your thinking. If you think in terms of limitation, your life shrinks accordingly. If you think with expectation, confidence, and belief, then life expands to meet the capacity of your mental state. Your thoughts are not random or harmless, they are creative forces that operate with precision. Whatever you consistently think about, you give energy to. Whatever you consistently feel, you magnetize. Whatever you consistently imagine, you eventually embody. The mind is like a mirror. It reflects back to you everything you impress upon it, not just occasionally, but continuously, quietly shaping the fabric of your reality. This is why you must become deeply aware of the thoughts you entertain. Every repeated thought becomes a belief, and every belief becomes a pattern, and every pattern becomes a destiny. You cannot think thoughts of failure and expect success to chase you. You cannot hold images of fear and hope for peace to fill your days. The law of the mind is simple, like a track slide. The inner world projects itself into the outer world with unfailing accuracy, and because this law works effortlessly, it is equally capable of creating abundance or struggle, depending on what you allow within. Many people wonder why negative situations appear in their lives, even when they do not consciously want them. The answer lies in the subconscious impressions they feed without realizing it. A person may desire wealth but constantly think thoughts of lack, scarcity, and worry. They may desire love but carry deep feelings of unworthiness or fear of rejection. They may desire health, continually imagine illness, weakness, or danger. The subconscious mind does not respond to verbal desires. It responds to the dominant atmosphere of your thinking and feeling. It responds to the emotional tone behind your thoughts. Your inner state is the command. The outer world is the result. Your mind is always listening to you. It listens to the words you whisper when no one hears. It listens to the conversations you replay in your head. It listens to the judgments you make about yourself. It listens to the images you rehearse in the solitude of your imagination. And it takes all of this as instruction, as blueprint, as material to build the life you step into. When you understand that this creative process never turns off, you begin to take responsibility for the mental seeds you are planting each day. The great secret is that you have the ability to choose your thoughts. You are not a victim of mental chaos. You are not at the mercy of old patterns unless you allow them to dominate your awareness. The moment you decide to guide your thinking deliberately, the moment you choose to think thoughts that align with the life you desire, you reclaim your role as the architect of your circumstances. You shift from reacting to creating. You shift from drifting to directing. This shift is the beginning of inner mastery. Your thoughts carry vibration. They carry direction. They carry creative power. The mind is not moved by forced effort, but by repetition, emotion, and belief. Each time you dwell on a thought, you deepen its roots. Each time you feel the emotion connected to that thought, you water it. Each time you imagine it vividly, you accelerate its growth. This is why consistent positive thinking is not a cliché. It is a spiritual and psychological technology. Your mind does not change because you think a positive thought once. It changes because you think it repeatedly, intentionally, with feeling, until it becomes the new pattern the subconscious adopts. Your imagination plays a crucial role in this process. Imagination is the doorway through which your mind receives the images that shape your destiny. When you imagine yourself as capable, strong, confident, prosperous, your subconscious accepts that image as truth and begins to reorganize your actions and reactions to match it. You may not notice the transformation at first, but over time you will see yourself drawn to new opportunities, new relationships, new decisions that align with the mental picture you have been holding. The imagination writes the script. The subconscious performs it. Emotion is the glue that binds thought to reality. A thought without emotion is like a seed without water, it remains dormant. But when you feel deeply the truth of the thought you want to manifest, you activate the creative power of your inner mind. Feeling is the language the subconscious responds to instantly. When you think of success and feel the joy of achieving it, the subconscious begins to treat that vision as real. When you think of healing and feel the relief and gratitude of renewed health, the subconscious mobilizes the inner forces necessary to support that state. What you feel with intensity, you invite into your life. Every day your mind is shaping you. If you think thoughts of confidence, you become confident. If you think thoughts of peace, you become peaceful. If you think thoughts of abundance, you begin to attract abundance. This is not luck or coincidence. It is the predictable outcome of mental law. When you carry empowering thoughts, you elevate your mental frequency and align yourself with experiences that match that frequency. Your inner world and outer world begin to move in harmony. The most important transformation happens when you realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. And because you are the thinker, you have the power to choose again, to redirect, to uplift, to reprogram, to renew. You do not need to fight negative thoughts. You need only replace them with thoughts that carry the energy of what you truly desire. With practice, this becomes natural. With consistency, it becomes automatic. And with faith, it becomes powerful beyond measure. The subconscious mind is the silent guru within, a vast reservoir of intelligence and power that governs every aspect of your life, often without your conscious awareness, and understanding its operation is the key to mastering the experiences you create. While your conscious mind processes information logically, reasonably, and often slowly, the subconscious mind works tirelessly, continuously, and instantly, translating the images, emotions, and beliefs you hold into the conditions, habits, and patterns that shape your world. It does not question. It does not debate. It does not discriminate between what is possible and what is impossible. It simply accepts the instructions you give it and acts with perfect fidelity to those instructions, constructing your reality according to the impressions it receives. This is why every repeated thought, every vivid feeling, and every strongly imagined scenario leaves a permanent mark on your inner world, forming the blueprint through which your life unfolds. To ignore the power of the subconscious mind is to allow life to happen to you. To understand and direct it is to harness the most profound source of creation within you. The subconscious is like a fertile soil, and every thought or feeling you impress upon it is a seed. Positive thoughts of confidence, abundance, and love grow into supportive circumstances, meaningful relationships, and achievements. Negative thoughts of fear, doubt, and lack grow into obstacles, stress, and limitation. Unlike the conscious mind, which can be easily distracted or inconsistent, the subconscious mind is tireless and methodical. Once it accepts a belief, it works relentlessly to bring that belief into your experience. Many people fail to realize that what they see in their lives today is the manifestation of what they have consistently fed their subconscious over months and years. It is patient, precise, and persistent, shaping your destiny quietly, but unmistakably from within. The subconscious operates primarily through images and emotions, rather than words or logic. When you imagine something vividly and feel it as if it is real, the subconscious accepts it as truth and begins to orchestrate your thoughts, habits, and actions in a way that aligns with that image. This is why visualization, affirmation, and mental rehearsal are so powerful. When you hold in your mind a clear image of success or well-being, and attach to it the feeling of having already achieved it, the subconscious mind mobilizes the inner resources necessary to bring that image into physical reality. Conversely, when you dwell on fear, worry, or lack, the subconscious interprets these patterns as instructions and produces the corresponding outcomes. It is impartial, blind in its obedience, and unfailingly exact, responding only to the input it receives. The emotions you experience are the language through which the subconscious communicates and executes its plans. Feelings act as signals that guide the mind in translating thought into form. When you feel gratitude, joy, and certainty while thinking of your desired outcome, the subconscious interprets this as reality and aligns your behavior and environment to reflect that reality. When you feel anxiety, fear, or despair, the subconscious interprets those as the current state of affairs and generates circumstances consistent with those emotions. Therefore, emotional discipline is as critical as mental focus. The more consistently you maintain positive emotional states while directing your thoughts, the more efficiently the subconscious can deliver the outcomes you desire. The connection between thought and feeling is the bridge that connects imagination to manifestation. Your subconscious mind also stores the accumulated experiences, habits, and conditioning from your past, which continuously influences your present reality. These patterns often operate unconsciously, steering your behavior in predictable ways. For example, if you have been conditioned to believe that you are unworthy of success or happiness, the subconscious will produce circumstances that reinforce that belief until you consciously intervene and reprogram it. This is why self-awareness is vital. Recognizing the thoughts, beliefs, and emotional patterns that dominate your inner world allows you to take control and choose new instructions for your subconscious. Change begins not by trying to control external conditions, but by influencing the inner world that creates them. The subconscious mind is also responsible for your intuition and inner guidance. When you are quiet, calm, and aligned with your higher purpose, the subconscious presents solutions, insights, and creative ideas that your conscious mind might never have imagined. It is always working in your favor, provided you give it clear and positive instructions. Silence, meditation, and focused visualization are ways to communicate directly with this inner guru. In these states, the mind is free from distraction and negative clutter, allowing the subconscious to organize experiences, attract resources, and guide actions in alignment with your intentions. The more consistently you practice directing your inner focus, the more reliable and accurate this guidance becomes. Repetition is the key to impressing new ideas into the subconscious. Because the subconscious does not reason, it cannot be persuaded through logic alone. It requires consistent, repeated exposure to thoughts and images you wish to see manifested. Affirmations, visualization exercises, and emotional alignment repeated daily act as programming instructions that replace old patterns and establish new ones. With persistence, the subconscious begins to accept these instructions as reality, reorganizing your beliefs, decisions, and behaviors accordingly. This is how inner transformation occurs, not through force or struggle, but through consistent, deliberate, and focused thought combined with feeling. The subconscious mind also governs your habits, behaviors, and automatic responses. Every action you perform repeatedly is rooted in subconscious programming. If you wish to change your external world, you must first change the internal patterns that produce your actions. By consciously feeding the subconscious mind with empowering ideas, images, and feelings, you gradually replace limiting habits with empowering ones. The process is gradual, yet inevitable. The more you understand the laws by which the subconscious operates, the more skillfully you can direct it to create outcomes that are in harmony with your desires. Your life becomes a mirror reflecting the quality of your inner programming. Understanding the power of the subconscious requires an appreciation of its unwavering loyalty. It does not discriminate between beneficial or harmful instructions, it simply follows the most dominant patterns you feed it. Therefore, your responsibility as a thinker is immense. Every repeated worry, fear, and doubt strengthens the negative instructions, while every repeated act of imagination, belief, and positive expectation strengthens the constructive instructions. Your mind is always responding, always working, always creating. There is no neutral thought in the subconscious. Every thought has an effect. Every feeling has a consequence. Every image leaves an imprint. To master your life, you must master the instructions you give to this silent, infinite intelligence. The silent guru within is always ready to serve, always prepared to manifest whatever you consciously and consistently desire. It waits patiently, never judging, never punishing, always listening, always obeying. Once you learn to communicate with it deliberately, through clear intention, strong imagination, and elevated emotion, you begin to harness the infinite creative power available to you at all times. You begin to see opportunities appear, solutions manifest, and inner peace grow as the mind aligns with the thoughts and feelings you impress upon it. You begin to live in a state where the conscious mind directs, the subconscious executes, and the life you imagine becomes the life you experience. Imagination is the blueprint that shapes your reality, the unseen architect of every circumstance, every achievement, and every experience you encounter. And understanding its power is essential to mastering your life. Most people underestimate the role of imagination, believing it is merely a place for dreams, fantasies, or idle thoughts. Yet it is the most potent creative faculty of the mind. Everything that exists in the physical world was first conceived in someone's imagination. Every invention, every building, every act of creation began as an image, a picture formed in the mind, and the same principle governs your personal life. What you consistently imagine, feel, and accept mentally becomes the pattern that the subconscious mind brings into your experience. Imagination is not just a mental pastime, it is the spiritual and psychological tool by which you construct your destiny, and when harnessed with intention, it can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Your imagination communicates directly with the subconscious mind. It is the language the deeper mind understands. While the conscious mind reasons, analyzes, and debates, the subconscious mind responds to images and emotions with precision. When you vividly imagine yourself in a state of success, peace, health, or abundance, the subconscious interprets this as reality and begins to align your thoughts, feelings, habits, and actions to correspond with that imagined state. This is why visualization exercises, mental rehearsals, and guided imagery are so effective. They create a template in the inner mind that the subconscious works tirelessly to replicate in your external world. The more detailed, emotional, and consistent your imagination, the more powerful its influence becomes. It is not enough to think in vague terms. The mind responds to clarity, intensity, and belief. The emotions attached to your imaginative images are what give them power. A simple picture in your mind, devoid of feeling, has minimal influence. But when you combine imagination with emotion, the subconscious mind receives a clear signal that this is not mere thought, but reality. Feeling is the bridge between imagination and manifestation. When you feel the joy of success, the relief of health, the pride of accomplishment, or the love of connection, while holding a mental image of the desired outcome, you impress the subconscious with a living blueprint. This blueprint is then treated as current reality, and the subconscious mind begins to reorganize your internal and external environment to reflect it. Imagination without emotion is like a seed planted on dry soil. It may sit there, but it cannot grow. Emotion nourishes it, and belief strengthens it, allowing it to take root and flourish. Consistency is also crucial. The subconscious mind does not respond to fleeting thoughts, doubts, or passing whims. It responds to persistent, dominant, and repetitive images held with conviction and feeling. Each time you revisit an image of the life you desire, each time you imagine it with clarity and intensity, You reinforce it as a blueprint for the subconscious to act upon. Habits of imagination, practiced daily, gradually reshape the internal world, and as the inner world transforms, the outer world inevitably follows. This is why disciplined mental practice is essential. Casual wishing produces casual results, but focused, sustained imagination produces extraordinary outcomes. The mind must be trained to dwell intentionally on what you wish to create, not what you fear or resist. Imagination also serves as a rehearsal space for success. Before a person performs brilliantly in a sport, delivers a powerful speech, or takes bold action in life, they first see themselves doing it successfully in their mind. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between real experiences and vividly imagined experiences when they are imbued with strong emotion and belief. By repeatedly imagining success, you program your habits, reactions, and behaviors to align with that success. When the real moment arrives, your actions flow naturally, guided by the subconscious mind that has rehearsed the outcome in advance. In this way, imagination prepares the mind, the body, and the soul to operate at the highest level of efficiency, creativity, and effectiveness. Your imagination also shapes your beliefs. Whatever you imagine repeatedly begins to form the foundation of what you believe to be possible or impossible. People who imagine failure, scarcity, limitation, or conflict tend to attract those very experiences, not because of bad luck, but because their subconscious mind interprets the images and feelings they hold as instructions to create corresponding realities. Conversely, those who imagine abundance, opportunity, love, and success establish beliefs that empower them to act, attract, and receive in alignment with their visions. Imagination is therefore both a cause and a reinforcement of belief. When you control your imagination, you control the narrative of your inner life, and by extension, the events that occur in your outer life. It is also important to recognize that imagination is not bound by current circumstances or apparent limitations. You are not restricted by what you see, hear, or experience externally. The mind can conceive possibilities far beyond what exists in the present moment. This is why great innovators, leaders, and visionaries are able to create worlds that others initially consider impossible. They see with their imagination first, and then, through deliberate focus, belief, and action, they bring those visions into reality. You too have this capacity. By consciously choosing to imagine the life, the health, the relationships, and the circumstances you desire, you begin to lay the foundations for them internally before they appear externally. Imagination also interacts dynamically with the law of attraction. Like attracts like, and the images you hold in your mind send out vibrational signals that align you with corresponding people, opportunities, and situations. When you imagine abundance and success, you begin to notice opportunities, solutions, and ideas that previously went unnoticed. When you imagine harmony, love, and gratitude, you attract experiences that reflect those qualities. The world responds to the energy of your inner images. Imagination is therefore not a passive act. It is an active force that radiates outward, drawing to you everything that matches the frequency of your inner world. Moreover, imagination fosters creativity and problem solving. When faced with challenges, the mind can explore infinite possibilities in the imagination before selecting the course that aligns best with desired outcomes. Through imagination, solutions that may seem unattainable in the external world become accessible. By visualizing different approaches, scenarios, and consequences, the mind prepares itself to act with clarity and precision. This is why successful individuals often spend time in reflective visualization, mentally experimenting with choices and outcomes before making real-world decisions. The more vividly you imagine, the more options your subconscious generates, and the more confident and effective your actions become. To fully harness the power of imagination, it is necessary to cultivate mental discipline and focus. Distractions, negative influences, and doubts can weaken the effect of imaginative practice. When the mind is trained to dwell consistently on constructive, positive, and empowering images, the subconscious mind receives unambiguous instructions and manifests them effectively. This requires conscious effort, regular practice, and emotional alignment. The habit of imagining your desired reality with clarity, consistency, and intensity is a skill, and like any skill, it becomes stronger, more natural, and more powerful the more you practice it. Imagination also builds inner confidence. When you repeatedly see yourself acting, achieving, and succeeding in your mind, you internalize the belief that you are capable. Confidence is not a superficial attitude. It is the internal certainty that your mind can shape your world. Every imagined success reinforces your self-trust and inner authority. As your inner belief grows, your actions become more aligned, more decisive, and more effective, producing tangible results that reflect the images you have held in your mind. Through imagination, you become the creator of your experiences, and your life becomes a living reflection of the visions you choose to hold. Imagination is the bridge between desire and manifestation. Every dream, goal, or aspiration begins as an image in the mind. Without imagination, there can be no creation, no innovation, no transformation. It is the tool through which you connect your inner vision with the outer world. By consciously cultivating your imaginative faculty, you prepare your subconscious to act as a faithful servant of your intentions, organizing your thoughts, actions, and circumstances in alignment with the life you envision. It is the engine of creation, the silent architect, and the ultimate power through which you design your destiny. Mental mastery begins with choosing thoughts intentionally, not emotionally, and this principle is at the very heart of personal transformation, because the human mind is naturally inclined to wander, react, and respond to external stimuli, unless consciously guided. Most people live their lives at the mercy of their emotions, circumstances, and habitual patterns, allowing fear, doubt, worry, and distraction to dictate the quality of their experiences. When the mind is uncontrolled, thoughts drift aimlessly, and the subconscious mind receives inconsistent instructions, resulting in a life that feels chaotic, reactive, and often unsatisfying. Mental mastery requires a deliberate shift from reactive thinking to intentional thinking, from wandering consciousness to focused awareness, and from emotionally driven impulses to consciously chosen directions. It is the recognition that every thought you allow to dominate your mind becomes a blueprint for your life, and therefore the power to select, guide, and sustain empowering thoughts is the foundation of creating the reality you desire. The first step toward mental mastery is self-awareness. You must observe your thoughts without judgment, noticing the patterns, habits, and emotional tones that dominate your inner dialogue. Most people are unaware of the mental currents running through their consciousness. They assume that thinking is a passive act that happens automatically, without consequence. In reality, every thought carries energy and potential. Every repeated idea or belief leaves an imprint on the subconscious mind, which then acts on that imprint with unfailing precision. By becoming aware of the nature of your thoughts, you gain the ability to intercept negative or unhelpful patterns and replace them with thoughts that align with your highest intentions. Observation alone is a transformative practice because it allows you to step outside of automatic reactions and begin to act with conscious purpose. Choosing thoughts intentionally means selecting ideas, beliefs, and images that support your desired outcomes, rather than allowing the mind to be dominated by whatever external circumstance or internal fear arises. It is not enough to occasionally think positively. Mastery requires consistent, deliberate focus on constructive and empowering mental content. This involves setting clear intentions, repeating affirmations, visualizing desired results, and emotionally aligning with the outcomes you wish to experience. When you repeatedly impress upon your subconscious mind the thoughts and images of success, health, peace, and abundance, the mind begins to act in harmony with those patterns, shaping both your inner state and your external circumstances. Consistency and persistence are key, because the subconscious responds not to fleeting whims, but to dominant and repeated impressions. Emotions play a central role in mental mastery. While thoughts alone have creative power, emotions amplify and accelerate the manifestation process. When you allow your mind to be driven by fear, anger, frustration, or doubt, these emotional currents energize negative thought patterns and strengthen limiting beliefs. Conversely, When you intentionally cultivate emotions such as confidence, gratitude, joy, and love, while holding empowering thoughts, you energize these constructive patterns and impress them more deeply upon the subconscious mind. Mental mastery is therefore not a cold, detached exercise. It is a practice of harmonizing thought and feeling, ensuring that both components are aligned with the outcomes you desire. The mind responds to the emotional intensity of your thoughts, so the quality of your inner feelings directly influences the reality you create. Another aspect of choosing thoughts intentionally is the discipline of mental focus. In a world filled with distractions, noise, and constant stimulation, the mind naturally drifts toward external influences and reactive thinking. People often react automatically to what they see, hear, or experience, allowing these external factors to dominate their mental state. Mental mastery requires the ability to pause, center, and direct attention deliberately. It involves consciously choosing where to place your focus, what to dwell upon, and what to reject. Every time you redirect your attention from fear, doubt, or negativity to constructive and purposeful thoughts, you strengthen your mental muscles and reinforce your ability to guide your mind rather than be guided by it. Focused attention is the practical tool of mental mastery, enabling you to create rather than react. The practice of replacing negative or unproductive thoughts with empowering alternatives is essential. Whenever a thought of limitation, fear, or worry arises, it is not enough to simply wish it away. You must consciously replace it with a thought that supports the reality you desire. This replacement must be repeated consistently until the new thought becomes the dominant instruction given to the subconscious mind. For example, if you find yourself dwelling on lack or failure, replace those thoughts with images of abundance, success, and capability. If you experience worry about health, replace it with thoughts of vitality, energy, and wellness. The mind operates according to the patterns it receives. When you feed it constructive thoughts with intention, it begins to organize your life around those patterns naturally and efficiently. Mental mastery also involves recognizing the impermanence and controllability of thoughts. Thoughts are not facts, they are fleeting mental events that can be directed, chosen, and replaced. Most people identify with every thought that arises, reacting as though each mental impulse represents reality. This identification strengthens the power of unhelpful thoughts and limits conscious choice. Mastery comes when you understand that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer, the chooser, the conscious presence that can select which thoughts to entertain and which to release. This awareness creates freedom and opens the door to intentional creation, because once you realize that every thought is an instruction to your subconscious mind, you can choose to give it the instructions that produce the life you want. Consistency and repetition are critical in training the mind. Intentional thinking is not a one-time effort but a continuous practice. The mind responds to patterns, and dominant repeated patterns have the greatest influence on the subconscious. Daily practices such as affirmations, meditation, visualization, and focused reflection serve to imprint empowering ideas into the subconscious mind. With time, these chosen thoughts replace old, limiting patterns, and the individual begins to experience corresponding changes in behavior, perception, and circumstances. Mental mastery is thus a process of disciplined repetition, combined with emotional alignment and focused attention, to establish new, constructive patterns that shape a life of purpose, clarity, and fulfillment. Mental mastery also requires the cultivation of patience and trust. The subconscious mind operates according to principles that are precise but gradual. Changes in outer circumstances reflect the new patterns held in the mind, but this alignment takes time. When you choose your thoughts intentionally, you plant seeds that will bear fruit, but you must nurture them with continued focus, belief, and emotional reinforcement. Impatience or doubt can undermine progress, weakening the clarity of your instructions to the subconscious mind. By cultivating trust in the process, patience in application, and persistence in practice, you allow the silent creative power within your mind to work effectively, transforming thoughts into consistent, tangible results over time. The ultimate result of choosing thoughts intentionally is freedom from automatic reactions inner chaos, and emotional turbulence. As you develop the ability to direct your mind with conscious purpose, you gain control over your inner state, and consequently, your outer circumstances. The mind becomes a servant to your intentions, rather than a slave to external conditions. You begin to notice a shift in your perception, your energy, and your behavior. Decisions become clearer, actions become more aligned, and opportunities appear in harmony with the reality you have been consciously constructing. Mental mastery transforms life from a series of reactive experiences into a deliberate, purposeful creation process, allowing you to navigate challenges with clarity, confidence, and resilience. Choosing thoughts intentionally also strengthens resilience and reduces susceptibility to fear, doubt, and negativity. When the mind is disciplined, it is not easily swayed by transient events, criticism, or external pressures. Instead, it remains anchored in constructive, empowering patterns that guide your behavior and decisions. This inner stability fosters confidence, clarity, and the ability to respond to circumstances with wisdom rather than react impulsively. Emotional balance, reinforced by intentional thought, becomes a powerful tool in overcoming obstacles and achieving desired outcomes. By consistently choosing thoughts aligned with your highest aspirations, you cultivate a mental state that attracts favorable conditions, supports goal attainment, and fosters a sense of inner peace and certainty.